Do you expect a slump or a jump from young Jayden Daniels?
I say jump. I think what Washington is doing around Jayden Daniels is every right move. They're adding a left tackle in Laramie Tunsil. They bring in Deebo Samuel, who I think helps the passing game. They get a little better in the run game. That offense could be even more electrifying than it was for most of last year. I think Dan Quinn is a guy that took the Falcons to the Super Bowl in his second season in Atlanta, heading into his second season in Washington. I don't see why hopes can't be very, very high.
Tannenbaum, let's talk about Bo Nix in Denver. Are you expecting a slump or a jump in his second year?
Greeny, I'm going jump, and if it was a leap, I would say it's a leap. He's going to be massively improved for a number of reasons. First full offseason with Sean Payton, look for the turnovers to come down. R.J. Harvey, second-round pick, Greeny, outstanding receiver out of the backfield. Think Alvin Kamara, and then Evan Ingram, great pass-receiving tight end. Look for his completion percentage to go up. Bo Nix has a great second year.
I agree. Look, they made the playoffs last year. And then Graz back to Chicago. Caleb Williams, slump or jump?
Jump. It's all optimism here from the NFL crew on May 31st. I think Caleb Williams adding the coach and Ben Johnson, who's there to make him better. They added more pieces around him this time. Last year, we were talking about how many great pieces there were around him in the passing game. They beefed up the offensive line. Caleb Williams is in a great position to make a jump in year two.
I agree. And so, Michael Wilbon, I've been waiting all week to ask you this question because I think it's an interesting one. For those who don't know, Michael is, everyone knows this. You are the mayor of Chicago, or the king of Chicago sports, and all the rest of that, and a Bears fan all of your life. What would constitute, in your opinion, a successful season for this team and this young quarterback this year?
Well, I want to see gradual improvement, but consistent improvement from the start of the season. And that can be tough when you've got a new head coach, one who's so dramatically different from what Caleb Williams had a year ago. 10 wins. I'd love to see them in the playoffs. Their schedule is brutal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how you finish in last place and wind up with the schedule that the Bears have wound up with, but it's a difficult schedule and a difficult division, obviously.
Yeah, very.
They need to take advantage of the Minnesota Vikings right off the bat. They get a rookie quarterback making his first start in Minnesota, except it's in Chicago, and so you feel on a Monday night, you've got to win that game and start that season differently. But Caleb Williams, you're going to see dramatic improvement from protection. He was sacked 68 times last year. That number needs to be cut in half. Sounds too optimistic, but dramatically. So I shouldn't look at a number of wins. They can flirt with the playoffs. If 10 wins can get you in, I expect the Bears to be right in that number.
Mike, see, this is the part of this that I find so interesting, and it's why I was so opposed to what they have done in candidly with each of their last three rookie quarterbacks, and that is having people in place who were needed to win to save their jobs. Now that they have people in who have job security, my answer to that question is their record this year, while I understand it won't feel that way at the time, is of secondary importance. You need to develop Caleb Williams into a star quarterback in the NFL. You need to do anything and everything in order to accomplish that, because if you do, look at Buffalo, look at Cincinnati, look at Kansas City. If you have a great quarterback, you're going to be in it for a decade. And one of those years, you probably wind up winning it. I think it's more important that they develop him this year than it is that they make the playoffs.
Yeah, Greeny, I think Michael Wilbon put it well. It's going to be a slow, steady trajectory. Bill Barnwell had a really good statistic, which is Jared Goff led the league in play action about 36% last year as Ben Johnson was the play caller. Caleb Williams was third from the bottom. It takes a minute for a quarterback to be comfortable with his back to the line of scrimmage, which is what good play action passing does. So look for him, look for them to do that a lot now. Preseason, early in the season may be bumpy, but if Caleb Williams is comfortable with his back to the defense, it will open up the offense and let it be that much more explosive.
Graziano, final word.
If the Bears fans feel the way about Caleb Williams at the end of this year that the Patriots fans did about Drake May at the end of last year, then this season will have been a success for Caleb Williams, for Ben Johnson, and the Chicago Bears. Yeah, a couple of guys looking for new contracts. T.J. Watt has 1 year left on his deal, about $21 million. When he signed his extension a few years back, he kind of held in to training camp, showed up, it didn't work. Steelers get these deals done generally later in the offseason, so I would imagine T.J. Watt gets a contract extension sometime between now and the start of September. A guy who is watching closely is Trey Hendrickson, because Trey Hendrickson's dispute with the Bengals has obviously been very public. He's making about $16 million this year. He wants a new deal. Has said he won't play on his current one. T.J. Watt is 2 months older than Trey Hendrickson. So if the issue the Bengals have with extending Hendrickson is that he's 30 and going to be 31 this year, he'll be watching closely to see what kind of deal T.J. Watt gets that might inform those negotiations as we move forward. And then we get to Dallas and Micah Parsons, who's younger and better at this point in his career than either of those guys, and is likely to get an extension this offseason that makes him the highest paid defensive player in the league. We know that he and Jerry Jones have had conversations. We know the deal is not yet done. We know that Micah has been at some, not all, of the voluntary portion of this year's off season, but Micah Parsons still looking for a deal. This is a deal I think both sides agree will get done at some point this off season. I don't think we have to worry about a Micah holdout in training camp.
Okay, that'll be one to keep a close eye on, obviously. And while Parsons may not have been at OTAs, the new Dallas head coach Brian Schottenheimer obviously was. And he had interesting comments yesterday about Dak Prescott having room to grow as he, Dak, enters his 10th year in the NFL.
I think they all are. I mean, I think Dak is in the developmental phase, and that sounds crazy for a guy that's played that much, but like there's things that we're tweaking with Dak. The minute these quarterbacks think that they've figured it all out, that's when it's probably time for them to think about doing something different, because the way defense attack in this league, it makes it almost impossible to ever relax.
Here's what I would say. A, that's obviously just the way, that's what coaches say, right? So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and make a big deal out of it. The second piece of it, Mike T, is you know Brian Schottenheimer's history as well as anybody does, and so do I. You had him with the Jets. Everywhere he goes, the quarterbacks love him, right? He got along extraordinarily well with Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees and Mark Sanchez and now Dak Prescott. And Mike T, that's a big part of this story.
Without question, Brian's done a great job, as you said, for multiple decades with this position, and there's no way they're going to promote Brian Schottenheimer without Dak signing off on it, as Grouse, reminded us that he's making $60 million a year. So when you look at this offense, you go back to 2021, 37 touchdown passes. That was in the prime of Amari Cooper with CeeDee Lamb. I think they got a lot better. I think Javonte Williams is a good back. You have a highly motivated George Pickens in the last year of his deal, wanting a new deal, and CeeDee Lamb with Jay Ferguson. If Tyler Booker makes a difference up front, this should be a top 10 offense. And look, I don't know if they go all the way to the playoffs, but this offense is going to be fun to watch. I think Dak, if healthy, will have an outstanding year.
Here's what I'm going to say, Mr. Wilbon, and that is that I have been at times, it has been suggested that perhaps I talk about the Cowboys a lot.
No.
And whether fairly or unfairly, they've come up a time or two on this show. I think right now they're actually under the radar, which would seem almost impossible for the Cowboys, but because the Eagles win the Super Bowl and the Commanders have this dynamic superstar young quarterback, and the Cowboys only won 7 games last year and hired a coach that people didn't get all excited. I'm telling you right now, Brian Schottenheimer is going to be a good NFL head coach, and the Cowboys are going to be a better team this year than I feel like the expectation is. What do you think?
I don't.
No.
I don't know anything about Brian Schottenheimer. I'm exaggerating.
Right.
We don't know what he's going to be up to. We talk about people moving over one spot from the corner office to the corner office. There's too much we don't know about that. There's also 2 teams that are better positioned to have good seasons in the Cowboys division. You mentioned them. The defending champion Eagles and the Commanders. So, and the Giants can't be as dreadful as they've been, can they? Well, maybe they can.
They probably can.
There's some road games. There's at Broncos. There's at Lions. I think there's at Bears. I think the Cowboys are sort of a 10-ish win team. Well,